friendship that'll never ever end.
Run!
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Reaction beam yo 349. Day in the neighborhood. My brothers and sisters, I did not put out a video yesterday, y'all. And it feel like I've been gone for so long, man. Like, that's the first Monday in so long that I did not put out a video, man. But I'm back today. And I'm back on a Tuesday. So y'all know who we're about to go back to. Mike from That Chapter. That Chapter Tuesdays, y'all. Hope y'all doing excelente out there today. And I'm glad that you came on back to the channel once again. Fuck with the beam. Now, the title of the video. Lying to police after staging a deadly intruder. AJ Armstrong. This just sounds like one of those classic cases where somebody that he probably killed. AJ Armstrong probably killed somebody, more than likely, sad to say, his family. And then he gonna lie and say that somebody broke in their house and did it. You know what I'm saying? It just sounds like one of those classic cases. But let's see. But before we see, y'all know what y'all got to do. Get whatever you might need. Get what you need. That Chapter Tuesdays. Once again, my friends. Y'all got what y'all need. Y'all ready to go? Then let's fucking go.
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this whole video, we are gonna look at the very strange story of what happened inside a house in the city of Houston, Texas. To date, this story, I mean, I suppose to most people, it's, it's done, it's dusted, the gavel hammered down. But it's just so bizarre. There are still a lot of people who think the person in this story is completely innocent. So much so that it went through 3 trials before it came to its conclusion. So let's give it a go.
Let's give it a go. And get whatever you might need.
In southwest Houston, there lies a street called Palmetto. And it's in a decent part of town, not bad. You got townhouses beside smaller little homes, and it seems like a good old place to have one of them families. Sure, why not? And it was in one of those beautiful townhouses on that street, there lived a family called the Armstrongs, led by Antonio Armstrong Sr. and his wife Dawn. And they were like this well-loved power couple in the city. Antonio Armstrong was actually born in the city of Houston, and he would later become nationally known when he played linebacker at Texas A&M. He got the honors, he got the awards, and so it was of no surprise that he would enter the draft in 1995 to go play in the NFL. He was drafted in the 6th round by the 49ers, didn't make it through training camp however due to a broken ankle, and he later made it onto the Miami Dolphins active roster. His career in America though, it soon fizzled out a little bit, and he went to play in Canada for the Canadian Football League, and he was there for about 3 years before he had enough of that too. However, once he left football, behind, he began this whole new career as a motivational speaker.
Hello everyone, Antonio Armstrong here. Welcome to this special 4th of July edition of Strong Talk. As a nation, we're celebrating Independence Day, and it's only rightfully so that we celebrate your independence today. Independence from what? Independence from failures, shortcomings, downfalls, hurt, pain, anger.
He had a YouTube channel called Strong Talk, where he gave these little speeches about, well, motivating, taking accountability, get up and out there, the standard, how to be successful kind of stuff if you're into that. Pretty inspirational, like, it's good for him. He was just...
Yeah, I was finna say, Mike, it's pretty, seemed like a pretty good dude, right? He talking that motivational shit. You know what I'm saying? Like he talking the talk. Like he a great dude. But let's see.
So well liked, real cool dude. Himself and the wife Dawn also owned a chain of fitness centers called First Call Training.
We have everything you need to get fit and stay fit.
Now, Antonio was married to Dawn, and they had 2 children together. Antonio Jr., AJ, 16, and Kara, 12. Dawn also had an older son from a previous relationship, Josh, who Antonio ended up adopting. So they're one big family then, and a very successful one at that. Something they worked their asses off to pass on to their children, Gave their kids only the best. I'm talking the private schools, all the good. Essentially, they gave their kids all the tools you would need to become successful yourself. That was the only thing they wanted, was success. The only thing they asked for in return was work hard, study, hit the books. Work your ass off, whether it's in the library or on the football pitch. Now AJ, he had a girlfriend named Kate Ober, his high school sweetheart, and they seemed in love and that relationship was going well. But on the other hand, school for AJ wasn't quite going so well. See, it appears AJ, as a teen, like most 16-year-olds, he had started experimenting with the old devil's lettuce. And either because of or coinciding with, his grades began to slip. His parents found out, and as I kind of mentioned at the top, none too pleased would be the best way of phrasing that. They were friggin' ticked off.
I wonder how my mama would react if she would have knew I was smoking weed back then. Man, they would be quiet, man. That's why I said I hope my mama would never watch all these reaction videos, my brother and sister, because I be telling them myself. Because I had to start smoking weed when I was 14, man. But I ain't do no crazy shit, you know what I'm saying? I'm good. But I'm just saying, man, I wonder if my mama would have caught my ass back then, how she would have reacted. Lord have mercy. I don't even want to know.
High achievers expect high achievers, so seeing AJ from going top of the class to the bottom was something that greatly disappointed them, and they would have some stern words. AJ would in fact end up getting kicked out of the private school he was attending. His grades were just so bad. So the home life was like a little bit turbulent. Now, nothing crazy out of the ordinary for a teenager whose grades start to slip and they start experimenting with drugs, but the parents, Antonio and Dawn were very worried about AJ. Kara, on the other hand, 12 years old, young, she was doing great. Josh, he didn't live with the Armstrongs, but he lived just like around the corner. He lived on the same street. He had his own apartment, and he had his own issues, even though he was the oldest. He had some mental health problems. So, this is when someone took a squat on a fan, folks, because on July 29th, 2016, the middle of the night, AJ Armstrong called 911.
Uh-oh.
Something horrible had happened in the house on Palmetto. At around 1:40 a.m., Houston police were racing to that house. AJ said he was hiding in his closet because he had heard gunshots coming from his parents' bedroom, and he was too scared to go out. He was whispering. He thought the intruder might still be there. He was saying, somebody had broken in, and, well, gunshots had rang out.
And your name?
AJ.
Any medical attention needed?
I heard gunshots, so I don't really know.
In your parents' bedroom?
Yes. And your doors? That makes sense. How did you get into my house? That's not my fault.
While he was still on the phone with the 911 operator, he ventured out of the closet to go check on his sister to check if she was okay. Something had happened to her, which is odd because, gunshots are in the house. But she didn't wake up her heavy sleeper. Anyway, he got her up and he managed to lead her quietly down the stairs. They didn't know if there was an intruder still in the house. And as they got to the front door of their place, strangely again, AJ had to disable the alarm system. The house had been firmly locked up.
Okay, AJ, your story already ain't adding up, bro. It's not adding up, bro. You already got holes that I can poke in your story, bro. Number one, how in the hell did your sister not hear the gunshots? How the hell she slept through that? You had to go wake her up? Really? That's one. Really? That don't make no sense. If somebody starts shooting in the house, I don't give a damn how asleep I am. I'm gonna hear that shit and I'm gonna wake up scared than a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? And then let's go to the second one, AJ. If somebody broke in your house, bro, why should you have to disable the alarm, bro? When that shit had went off? Make it make sense, AJ. Let's go to the third one, AJ. You sit around here when you talking on the phone with the dispatcher, you say it's all my fault. What the hell do you mean by that, AJ? That's suspicious. What you mean it's your fault? AJ, hey man, AJ, his story already ain't adding up, my brothers and sisters.
He did that, and he opened the door to the responding officers. AJ had also contacted Josh, who lived in an apartment just a handful of minutes away by foot, and Josh raced to the house. So the police immediately began securing the crime scene, checking if anyone was in there and if anyone was still alive. The room Dawn and Antonio had been sleeping in was eerily quiet. The paramedic would find Dawn deceased. She'd been shot twice in the head. Antonio had been shot once in the head and was still alive when they got there, but within a few short hours, he too would pass away.
Dang.
They both had pillows over their heads as if someone was trying to use them to muffle the gunshots, which I've only ever seen in movies. Does that work in real life? Well, not muffled enough, as AJ, who'd been in the house, had heard the gunshots. AJ and Cairo were taken away separately by the police, to talk about what could have happened, what they believed happened in the house. And also, both of their hands were bagged. This is done to preserve any gunshot residue which may still be present. Because from step one, the police were thinking, maybe it was an intruder, maybe it was, you never know. Or maybe it was somebody who had been inside the house and was inventing an intruder. The police were still going through the home, securing any evidence they could find, and they found no signs of forced entry, which we know, doesn't always need to be, but in the kitchen they found something very odd. Well, for a start, the drawers had all been pulled open, looked a little ransacked. Though strange unless the killer was only there for cutlery. But more importantly, on the countertop, they found a handgun, the murder weapon, and a note. Handwritten, it read, "I have been watching for a long time. Come get me." Which seems so movie-like. I'm not even sure if the Joker would be ridiculous enough to leave a note saying, "Come get me," like this. It just seems so over the top. So the police are immediately thinking, that's staged. At first, murder-suicide, then someone outside had broken in and, we had a home invasion, but now the police were getting more and more convinced. Whoever had done this had been inside the whole time.
Yeah, this shit turning a little goofy now. You know what I'm saying? Like, whoever this killer is, come get me. Like, yeah, he acting like the Joker. This shit kind of worse than the Joker because this real life. Like, this sound like it's out of a movie or something, bro. Like, why? Come on, bro. This shit sounds so staged, man. Then you leave the murder weapon there and shit. Like, come on, man. AJ, man. I'm sorry, AJ, but I'm leaning toward this. Boy, I'm leaning towards this. You hard right now, AJ.
That very night, 16-year-old AJ Armstrong was arrested. The police, from step one, had him in their sights. They spoke to him, asking all the questions you can imagine about how his relationship with his parents had been.
A little bit of information for you. What's your first name?
Antonio.
Well, ultimately we're here. We got to, we need to sit down and talk to you, figure what happened today, what's been going on. How was your relationship with your parents in general?
It was a pretty good relationship.
Okay, you get along with your mom, get along with dad, no problems, no
me
issues?
Me and dad were really close. And then me and my mom, my brother and my sister had our little issues with my mom, but it was never anything serious. It was just family stuff. But we were all really close. So.
Any recent problems, any issues between you and him or anything like that?
No. My dad's a pretty chill guy. Likes to just talk things out. So any problem that we did have, we just talked about it.
Okay.
He said, the night of, the family, the house had been quiet. Everybody's up to their usual routine, their usual shenanigans. Everybody was in bed, and AJ, he was in his room texting his girlfriend, watching Netflix. Then, at around 1:30 a.m., AJ heard a noise from downstairs, and it sounded like a door opening. AJ was thinking, who's that? And he was actually also feeling a little bit ill, a little bit sick at the time, so he was like, I'm going to go downstairs, check who that is, and also get some medicine for a little tummy ache. Second floor, Antonio and Dawn's bedroom, and then third floor was where AJ was. So he was going down the stairs to his parents' bedroom's floor, and as he was on the stairs going down, that's when he heard gunshots.
Probably 1 or 2 and I was still up, and I turned off my TV. I was getting ready to go to bed, and I went to the restroom, and when I came out, I heard the door open, and I haven't been feeling well like this whole day. So I've just been at home, and I thought it was my parents. So I like walked downstairs. So I was gonna ask if I can get some medicine, and like as I was walking downstairs, that's when I heard the 2 gunshots go off, and I ran back upstairs. And then when I ran back upstairs, I heard somebody run out of my parents' room and like hit the door. And then I don't know how they got out. I don't know which, because if they would have went out one of the doors, our alarm would have went off. So like my only guess is they had to have gone through a window, because those don't go off with our alarm system. Like it's not like connected. And like I saw someone like coming out, so I just took off back upstairs and went straight to my closet, and that's when I called.
And most importantly, he saw a masked intruder as he got onto the floor in his house. Now this was something he didn't really mention on 911. I didn't really say to the police immediately, though he did say. It seemed like only when he was being interrogated, though, he brought it up instead of when the police initially arrived. Oh, hey, there's a guy here.
I hear everything you're saying.
Right.
And ultimately, you know, there are some issues. And I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you there was some issues, and we kind of got to go over and kind of get to the bottom of what's going on.
Exactly.
Ultimately, you know, you're out there, they swabbed your hand.
Right.
So ultimately, if you fired a gun, even if you wash your hands, it's going to show. It's going to show.
Right.
Yeah.
So if there was something more, something different that happened, this is kind of the time to talk about it. The gun is still in the house.
Right.
Okay, so it's on the kitchen counter. So it's one of those things where if somebody's running out of the house, there's no time to
put it on the kitchen counter.
Put it on the counter, and there's even like a little paper where there's some scribbling on it. So there's not really a lot of time if you're running out of the house, jumping out of a window, to go put the gun there and then write a note.
He also said to police initially that he never touched that gun, the murder weapon, but he would later say he'd been messing around with it because they found a bullet hole in the floor of his room going down to his parents' bedroom.
Okay, it's him. It's him. It's over now. I don't even need to hear nothing else, man. I'm 100% convinced that he did this shit. I'm 100% convinced, y'all.
The bullet hole had actually been covered with like dirty clothes and stuff.
All that kind of makes me think that it had to have been somebody within the house.
AJ seemed to realize the situation he was putting himself in.
Mom and Dad are sleeping.
It does not look good at all.
And there's a bullet hole in the roof from your room.
And during the entire conversation with the police, he said, things were great, relationship, tickety-boo, neglecting to mention how his parents were currently pissed off with him about drugs and failing grades.
Yeah, I had nothing to do with this.
Okay.
At one point during the interview, they brought up that he said, during the 911 call, "It's all my fault." Which is not a good look, buddy. Could have done without that.
It's all my fault.
Now, the police would say,
that is all my fault part, like I talked about earlier. What the hell you meant by that when you said that, man? That's just one of them times where he was thinking something and he let it slip out. He ain't meant to say it, but it slipped out anyway. He told on himself.
well, it's not easier to get more of an admission than that. Literally saying it is your fault after they are dead. But AJ was saying, no, I said it was my fault because I believed I had done something that led to my parents getting killed. Either he heard a noise downstairs and he didn't warn them. He didn't call out. He didn't try and wake up his parents. Or maybe he left a door or a window unlatched. He was just feeling guilty that his parents were dead, but not admitting that he was the cause of it.
You said this is your fault. Like this is your fault. So I mean, something like that.
No, the "this is my fault" was at the point where, like, when I saw and I didn't do anything about it. That's what I was saying. Because when I came outside...
Well, you said it's all my fault. It's all my fault.
Well, I mean, I felt like I could have done something.
But the police and later prosecution took it in the most literal way.
So, I've got two parents in a room where a gun is kept. I've got you telling me that. Your sisters told me that's where the gun's kept, so we know this.
Exactly.
So how does a bad guy get in and get the gun?
How?
I've told you guys everything. Like, I mean, y'all, like, all the tests you guys run.
No, I know.
Like, we'll come back with, it has nothing to do with me. And I don't know, like, what else I need to say. I know it doesn't look good. I don't know what else I need to say to, like, let you guys know that I didn't do, I had nothing to do with
Antonio.
this. I would never try and kill my parents or get someone to kill my parents. So this has nothing to do with
Antonio.
me.
Okay. When you called 911, you were very calm on the phone. Your parents had both been shot. and you're very calm on the phone. That's not normal.
He was adamant
That's true too. And I meant to say something about that earlier. When how he called on the phone, was talking to the dispatcher. Man, I would have been freaking the freak out, man, on that phone talking to that dispatcher, dude. So yeah, he was talking very calm. But I will give AJ this shit. I gotta give him this. He kind of like a little smooth talker, like, you know what I'm saying? Like he know how to talk and try to make himself sound convincing. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, no, bro, this is you. You did this shit.
Did not do it. He didn't kill his parents. But remember, they bagged his hands and his sisters almost immediately. If he had shot a gun and the police arrived, within a couple of minutes after, getting gunshot residue would be, it's hard to get rid of that. So they were waiting for those test results to come back to prove he had fired a gun. Now, during the night, AJ had been texting his girl, Kate, texting her all night, talking, yapping away like normal, nothing out of the ordinary at all. The fact that he could be like that, and then, allegedly at the time, killed his parents, that was just shocking. Crazy. He didn't seem out of character at all. Now, weirdly, while AJ was sitting in jail, juvie, some lads broke into the gym his family owned, steal computers and stuff. Now, at first, what are the odds? Timing? Weirdly related, right? Police said no. It's probably just like opportunistic people who, broke in. They knew the owners were dead, so they knew the place would be quiet and they could yoink stuff. Still weird, though. In fact, it would only add to the weird things that didn't necessarily point towards AJ. He did say there was a masked man in his house, and later masked men broke into the gym. Those guys weren't found. And especially when those tests came back, and they found no gunshot residue on either his hands or Kira's hands. Now, okay, right, no GSO was found, he could have cleaned his hands thoroughly, he could have been wearing gloves, but no gloves were found either. Also, his fingerprints were not found on the gun, they were not found on the notepad, they were not found on the pen, they were not found on the paper. No blood spatter on him either, and both his parents had been shot to death at close range. It did really point to someone with intimate knowledge of the house, of the scene, didn't point to anyone breaking in, but there was also just nothing definitive pointing towards AJ, evidence-wise. Though motive, his arguments due to school, drug use, and by that I simply mean weed and failing grades. But is that enough to murder your parents? AJ pleaded not guilty, and was later bonded out. He was placed on house arrest.
Boy, when you hear all that right there, now you start to believe that maybe he didn't do it. I don't know, man. At the end of the day, y'all, the parts of this shit that I'm stuck on is the fact that you had to turn off the alarm. So how in the hell the intruder even got in the house? You know what I'm saying? And your sister slept through hearing all these gunshots. She literally slept through that. Like, them the part that just lead me to believe it's him. But not finding no evidence, man. I hate when the evidence don't be there. So, I don't know, man. I'm just gonna still lean towards that he did it, though. I still believe he did it, y'all. Cause, hey, I could be wrong. Y'all could feel different, man. But that's just what, at the end of the day, that's what I'm leaning towards.
Leading up to trial, evidence was shared with AJ's defense team. Everything that would be used against him. And one thing really stuck out. It was an interview with a woman named Maxine Adams. Her and her husband were friends with the Armstrongs. And she'd called the police shortly after the murders, telling them something very weird.
That there was a prostitution ring that my husband, Antonio, and another individual were all involved in during this time. I'm nervous that the more I push or the more I share, like, that it can end up the way Antonio was. The names that I'm giving you, I know for a fact, based on the call records and based on what I've seen. So I don't know, like, is there a prostitution police? Like, I don't know. Like, what do you do? Son is obviously the suspect right now, but then that whole thing is just shady.
Do you think this is related to the homicide, or do you think it's just two independent things?
I think it's related.
She believed Antonio and her husband had been part of a prostitution ring, and that Antonio's killing had been targeted because of it in relation to it. Now, the defense was only given this information 18 months after AJ was arrested, so the defense was furious.
Antonio Armstrong Sr. and his wife Dawn were murdered here in their home almost exactly 2 years ago. Their 18-year-old son is scheduled to stand trial for their murders next month, but his attorneys are asking to have those charges thrown out, arguing that the prosecution withheld important evidence. Antonio Armstrong Jr. blamed his parents' deaths on a mass intruder he claimed he saw in the house the night they were shot. His attorneys say new evidence that backs up that story was withheld by prosecutors for 18 months and handed over only 3 weeks ago.
It's going to be almost impossible for us to figure out what happened in this case.
That evidence, they say, includes a taped interview with a woman named Maxine Adams, who allegedly told Houston police in December 2016 that Armstrong's father was involved in a prostitution ring. She provided them with thousands of phone records.
But allegedly that was all investigated and found to be true or untrue, which has never been revealed. It wasn't related to the case. The prosecution, who are kind of railroading AJ here, are saying that. But it also seems very out of character. Antonio, everybody seemed to know about him, what he was into, just the kind of guy he was. But it's still, that part of this story still remains a mystery to this day. The trial for AJ...
What y'all think, y'all? Y'all think that Antonio, you know what I'm saying, senior, rest in peace to him, y'all think he did have some crazy shit going on with a prostitution ring? Or that all just hogwash? I really don't think that he had nothing to do. Even if, let's just say, even if he did, man, even if he did have that going on, I don't think that was going, had nothing to do with who killed him and his wife. It's this dude, man. I'm saying, bro, can somebody explain to me why you had a bullet hole going through your goddamn flow down to where your mom and daddy bedroom was? Can somebody explain some of this to me? This dude, at the end of the day, I just believe he did it.
AJ Armstrong began in 2019. The prosecution claimed someone inside had done it. They didn't have any DNA nor evidence, so they had motive. And the fact the alarm was still set when the police arrived, showing no one had come in. The alarm records, that was their most important proof. They also brought up the bullet hole in his floor, a hole that had been hidden with clothing. They said this had been a test fire to see how loud the gun was. The defense said there's no evidence he did it, that the police had tunnel vision, never straying away from AJ. And the prosecution's main evidence, the alarm system, that's faulty. They pointed at AJ's brother, Josh, as being the killer of Dawn and Antonio. Josh had changed since coming home from college. He had lost weight, he began talking to himself, exhibiting signs of mental health issues and schizophrenia. See, Josh, he wasn't Antonio's biological son, but he believed he was, up until he was 16 years old when Dawn and Antonio revealed to him that. Wow. And it seems like after that, things changed with Josh. He was not the same guy. It seemed to really mess with him. And so he had some severe mental health issues that only got worse as he got older. After, the murders, he would say he'd been there. He'd seen his parents die. Now people just believe that's mental health issues and the fact that he'd literally been at the house because his brother had called him. But then, he would keep saying things, and his mental health got worse and worse and worse after his parents' death.
The defense has always said that Josh, which is AJ's older brother, half-brother, knew about what was going on the night of the murders. In fact, that he only lived a couple miles away in his apartment. They also say that he had access, was able to get in and out of the Armstrong house.
He would also know the house, how to get in, the alarm system, and everything. But prosecution said it's not liable. And in fact, they were just dragging his name through the mud. At the end of the trial, the jury was split, 8-4. 8 feeling he did it, but a hung jury. The defense had created reasonable doubt. Not an acquittal, but a victory. For now. AJ's family always stood by him through this, saying he never could have killed his parents. In the meantime, AJ and Kate married and had a child together. 3 years later, in autumn 2022, AJ's trial began for a second time. New evidence was entered this time. The defense stayed the same, but the prosecution had the alarm system. But they also used his info from his phone. See, at 1:08 a.m., AJ's phone was removed from the charger, right? And then in the couple of minutes after, multiple times, AJ was doing this. When you're lighting up the home screen? Now, what they were thinking he was doing is that the house was dark. He was trying to see his way around the house. But he didn't want to use the flashlight because that would be too bright. Maybe bright enough to wake somebody up. So maybe he crept into his parents' room, lit the room like this, which We all do if we don't want to wake somebody up. And then. But, of course,
what the fuck? Is the government tracking us like that? Did I just hear that right, or am I tripping? Because it sounds like Mike from that chapter just told me, my brothers and sisters, that the damn government or the police or whoever, they can literally know when you connecting and disconnecting your phone from the charger, man, and know if you're turning it on with the light flicking or not without even pressing your flashlight. Man, I don't want no damn phone no more if that's the case. That can't be the case. I had been tripping. But let's just keep going, man. What in the hell?
The defense say that was him simply going downstairs to light the way. The defense also once again pointed a finger at Josh, but the prosecution said, no, he's an innocent guy, you're dragging his name through the mud. His girlfriend said he had been there the whole night, he's been in and out of psychiatric facilities, you're using that as an excuse. But that's who they were thinking it could have also been. At the end of trial number 2, again, a mistrial. Now it was 8-4 again, but the opposite. 8 people thinking he didn't do it.
Court on its own motion at this time is declaring a mistrial.
At some point, when is enough enough? And that's where we are. The family is sick and tired of it. AJ's sick and tired of it. When you haven't done anything wrong, how much do you have to show I'm not guilty?
Why do this interview? Why talk to me?
I mean, I feel like people probably would like to hear from me and just hear the things that like I have to say, and just because I mean I'm always quiet about things, so I'm sure they probably would like to know what AJ has to say.
Everyone has, I'm sure you've talked about this at length. I have to ask you just one time, did you kill your parents?
No. Never. Never.
What do you want to say to them?
I mean, for me, it's as simple as I didn't do it. It's just as simple as that. I've been adamant about that since the moment everything happened, from the moment I was on the phone till this day. I've said I didn't do it. I'll never change from that because I know it's the truth. And for me, that's just, that's just the one thing that I really want people to know, because being in this situation and just that being a constant reminder that someone would even think that it's something that I would do. Like, it's just, like, it hurts. It's frustrating.
There are people out there watching this who think, yeah, he did it, he killed his parents. How do you take that in?
If you would have asked me that a couple years ago, I would have told you it genuinely bothered me. But now, with me growing up and maturing, I can't sit here and allow it to affect me, because at the end of the day, not everyone's gonna love me.
The prosecution decided to try him for a third time in the summer of 2023. They were determined. This time, new DNA evidence was entered. It was found, right? DNA evidence was found under an adhesive tag that had been placed on AJ the night of. When he'd been brought to the police station for questioning, he had a name tag put on him. DNA was found under that name tag. It was blood. Antonio Armstrong Sr.'s blood was found. AJ said he never went into that room. How would his dad's blood get on him if he hadn't been the shooter? Still kind of strange though, one piece of blood spatter found so many years later on this one particular piece of tape. It's just odd, but it was DNA evidence. That was the strongest evidence they had.
These people, they didn't do this. They were being great parents. They didn't deserve this. And there's only one person in the house that did it. There's only one person that they tried to make grow up right. And that person is sitting right there.
And this time, AJ was found guilty of killing both his parents.
The jury find the defendant, Antonio Armstrong Jr., guilty of capital murder. It is now the order of this court that you be sentenced to life with the possibility of parole.
This had taken over his life since he was 16 years old, and now it will take the rest. He was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 40 years. And so ends the case of AJ Armstrong and the murder of his parents. An extremely sad and bizarre case. And that one final bit of evidence, the DNA, That one drop of blood spatter that was found just happened to be under that adhesive tag, nowhere else on him, an adhesive tag that had mysteriously disappeared. And now, when they were going for trial number 3, determined to get him, it miraculously appears. The one thing they were missing was DNA evidence. Now they had it. But
I gotta admit, man, that's pretty fucking weird that all of a sudden this little piece of DNA evidence show up. I don't know, man. If y'all out there thinking like I'm kind of thinking, we ain't wrong to think that like it's a possibility that this DNA evidence appeared just because they wanted to have something where they can go on in this shit. Because you know what I'm saying, this is the 3rd time that they had went to trial about it. So maybe these the government or whoever, man, I don't know what to be calling these people, but they just conjured up this little piece of evidence just to have a way to go and put them behind bars. I don't know, man. I don't fucking know.
But at the same time, if it is as, you know, kosher as they say it is, there's only one way it could have got there, which was him going in and shooting his parents. But why? Because he was getting kicked out of school? Because he was smoking reefer, smoking the devil's lettuce? To me, it seems a bit extreme to murder your parents because of that. I mean, unless there's like some whole background here of his parents being a lot more strict, maybe even abusive towards him, which would lead him to snap. But nobody's ever said that. They said they were great, really lovely people, high achievers, determined, would put your nose to the grindstone, but loving parents. But one other thing to say is that now one of AJ's attorneys is suing the police department, saying the blood was planted there on that tag, claiming police corruption.
One homicide investigator came across AJ, but several did. And they all testified in court they saw no DNA evidence. So how is it all of a sudden after 7 years, oops, here's the DNA evidence? I think a fair person who looked at all the evidence that we have just right now, without even getting more evidence, would say, this is more likely than not somebody planted there.
And who knows if he's right. The police needed that silver bullet, and they got it. What are the odds? You know what I mean? Freaking 7 years. 7 years after the fact.
Crazy.
But as always, let me know your thoughts on this case in the usual place. Thank you so much for watching. It means so much to me, as always. Thank you. Here, listen, go on. I'll see you as always real soon in the next video. A couple of days or whenever, you know, a couple of days. It'll be out soon. So look forward to that. But until then, check out the podcast. I'll see you. Take care of yourselves, because I love you. Mike out.
Man, my brothers and sisters, this one right here, man, is like, I don't want to say want to, but I can understand if you or me, like, it's a part of me that want to believe that he not guilty. It's a part of me. But for me, it's also a part that just outweighs that part that he fucking did the shit. Long story short, story long. I believe he did it, man. I believe he did it. It's just certain evidence. And I'm not even talking about the DNA shit. Because that shit is kind of goddamn suspicious, man. How it just popped up after 7 years. Oh, all of a sudden we got DNA. Well, what the fuck was your antennas goddamn 7 years ago? What was that DNA 7 years ago, man? And then how it, under his name tag that they put on him when he first went to the police station. That shit sounds suspicious as fuck. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that no alarm went off in the damn house. I'm talking about the fact that you shot, it was a bullet hole leading up from your room down to your parents' room. How in the fuck and why in the fuck did that get there? Why in the hell did your sister not hear the damn shots but you did? You know what I'm saying? Like, was she really that asleep? I just feel, I do not believe, man. And sometimes I'm not gonna say I'm a light sleeper. I'm not gonna say I'm a heavy sleeper. It just all depends, man. You know what I'm saying? But I know for a fucking fact if somebody's shooting a gun in my motherfucking house, even though my house not as big as theirs because they was in a mansion, they got 3 floors and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, they had a big ass house. But still, you cannot tell me I'm not gonna hear them gunshots. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. especially what it was, you would hear that goddamn shit, man. I don't want to believe that, bro. I don't believe it. Long story short, story long, I believe he did it. It would be sad as hell if he didn't do it and he get charged for it. And that does happen where people get charged for shit they ain't do, but the evidence leads towards him doing this more than it don't for me, my brothers and sisters. But I digress. Y'all let me know what the hell y'all think, man, down in the comments. And y'all make sure y'all come on back tomorrow, man. You know, we're going to keep this thing going. Another great That Chapter Tuesday. Y'all make sure y'all hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and do all that. That one, I like that one from Mike, man, because it really, I'm still thinking about it. Like, it just leaving me like, did he do it or not? Even though my heart and my mind telling me that he did it, but my mind kind of telling me that he didn't do it too, and my heart is too. I don't know, my brothers and sisters, but for real, man, I digress. Let me go and let you go. But before I let you go, you know I got to say this. Love, peace, and happiness. Stay safe. Don't stop. Keep going. Yeah.
If you're feeling lonely today, come along and throw your cares away. We're really glad that you're our friend, and this is a friendship that